Empire 2024. Hi everyone, I know I am like 3 or 4 months late at this point from the last Empire of 2024, but as you can maybe see, I have moved. So I moved 4 days before Christmas, which was a great idea. As moving does, it puts everything else on hold. So unfortunately this video is coming in really late, but I still wanted to do it. So hi, welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Rianne, aka Ree, whatever you fancy, and on this channel I talk about game dev and LARP, mainly Empire LARP. In fact, exclusively Empire LARP, as it's the only LARP I've ever been to. So today's video is going to be a bit different because I want to do my Empire event for 2024 Hots and Nots. However, I also wanted to roll it into just Empire 2024 Hots and Nots in general. We're going to recap over my hottest and notests of the year, and just in prep for whatever's going to happen this year in 2025. Maybe there's some gear here that would be super helpful. Maybe are running out of LARP content and you're forced to listen to my stuff now because I'm at the bottom of the barrel, baby. Okay, so let's start with E4 of 2024. That is the Autumn Equinox. Yes, it is the Autumn Equinox of Empire, the last event of 2024. It's a very potluck year in terms of weather, let's just say that up front, because E4 2023, which was my first ever event, we were boiling alive. E4 this last year, technically, 2024, was wet and cold and miserable, if not for the company that we had. So let's start off with the kit. This is going to be relatively short, I think, in terms of E4, because I didn't have a lot of new stuff in E4 of last year, because at this point I'm feeling quite confident and comfortable in a lot of the kit that I've got. So I have no knots, but the two hots that I want to mention are things that I have had for a few events now, and they're sort of a bit of an unsung hero because they get a lot of use, and although it's not sort of part of the aesthetic, it definitely has helped, and I feel like they're both necessities when it comes to self-care on the field. So the first thing I'm going to talk about is my tin mug. It does not need to be tin, but having a drinking vessel that is reliable on you at all times is pretty much a necessity. It's a necessity. Thank you. I personally prefer the tin mugs because I find them easier to clean, whereas some people have wooden vessels, which probably look a little bit more authentic of the time, but down to personal preference, really. I don't have a link to mine because usually I link all the stuff that I mention in the not the comments, but the bit underneath the description. There we go. As you may or may not be able to tell, it's late and I'm actually in my pajamas filming this, so welcome to the pajama party of Empire. But I actually got my mug at Empire, so again, if you're super new and these are all things you're thinking, oh god, I've got to get everything before I go, you don't need to. It's totally fine. There's a load of stuff you can get from the merchants there. I can't remember which merchant I went to for the mug, but you see a lot of people have the same mug, right? It's a tin, mine's gold, it comes in silver, it's got the little divots in it. You can pick them up for like, what, 5-10 quid maybe, but that'll last you. That'll be it. Dead easy to clean, always handy. Get yourself a mug if you haven't. And the second thing, as I mentioned, a bit of a necessity, especially when it's a bit crazy with the weather and you don't know whether it's going to be too hot, too cold, rainy. A hand fan. Hand fans are so helpful. I've seen people have parasols. I find them a bit too cumbersome, especially because I typically wear sort of like a cape and it's all a little bit too much for me to carry all the time. But having some sort of hand fan, I just bought like a pair off of Amazon for cheap. Like, they came in pairs. They're just normal black fans. You can get any sort of which colourway you want from any sort of vendor you find, but if you're just looking for something really basic and cheap, Amazon do them in packs. So I just grabbed 2 of those and they're really helpful. Cool off, block yourself from the sun. If you're stood having a conversation, this has happened many a time, I'm stood having a conversation and the sun is directly in my eye and I have my fan like this so I can actually see who I'm talking to, and it fits in my little satchel. still the terribly broken satchel that has haunted me, and I've still not upgraded. Maybe I'll ask for a new one for my birthday or something. I'm just committed to having this awful satchel now. So yeah, a mug and a hand fan, really basic stuff, but as I said, I've not really added much to my kit for E4, so that's all I've got for you this time round. When it comes to camping equipment, I'm going to broaden this now to not just camping equipment, but sort of camping experience as well, because my one knot is less about the camping equipment, it's more about the camping facilities this time round. So I have 2 hots for the camping equipment. The first being a hot water bottle. This is going to be like a really boring part of the video where my E4 specifics are kind of like the bare necessities. How many times am I gonna say like necessity in this video? But it's kind of like the basics here. Like, I'm getting to the end of the year and I have been doing LARP for over a year, and I'm really starting to get my flow in terms of what are the basics that are actually really helpful, not just how cool my kit is, you know, what weaponry I've got, what headpieces I've got, but the things that now are kind of like my holy grail items for comfort and for ease. And one of them was a hot water bottle. Partnered with the hot water bottle, because obviously you can't just get hot water from thin air, you can get a, I can't remember what they're called now. Basically it's like a quick boil. It's like a little canister that you can put water in. There's a little vessel on top, and it's kind of like a mini kettle in a way, but you have to light it and it has gas. I didn't have one of them. I'm very lucky that my friends over in Dragon Watch had one, thank you very much, and filled up my hot water bottle for me. But that's the kind of magical thing about Empire and about LARP, is that we're a community, so you'll likely find somebody that could boil some water for you. If not, go find yourself one of those quick hot spots, the boiling points, I can't remember what they're called now. Someone will know and put it in the comments. I can't remember off the top of my head. But when you're trying to face really, really cold nights, and E4 was really cold at night, this seriously helped. Like, seriously, before going out in the evening, get it boiled, or before you go to bed, manage to get it boiled, put it in your sleeping bag, give it, 30 minutes, and then by the time you get in your sleeping bag and you've got your pajamas on, it is so nice, and it makes such a difference. In that same vein, the second thing I've got is an Oodie. I saw people wearing Oodies from like day one, and I remember thinking, wow, that's a good idea. So I finally bought mine, and yeah, again, if you know it's going to be cold, if you know that the nights, if you look at the weather forecast beforehand and it's going to be like sub 10 degrees, get an Oodie in there. If you don't have an Oodie, get a giant cardigan or a dressing gown. Oodies, I feel like, are especially good just because they're so easy to whip on and off, and they're very, very thick and plush. The downside is it does take up a lot of packing space, so like I just take the one big suitcase with me, and it took up like maybe a third of the suitcase just because of how big it is. But if you're driving, that's not really too much of a problem, I guess. But yeah, it definitely helps in the colder weathers. So onto the knots for camping experience. The really cool thing about the Dadford campsite, we were really lucky that the campsite installed like brand new showers last year. Like, there's a whole new, brand new spanking shower block with loads more showers. They've installed a couple of hair dryers, some mirrors. The knot, however, was that I think it was on the Saturday morning, I went to get the shower and all of the showers were ice cold, none of the hot water was working. And I was gutted. Because in a normal summertime, that would be fine. You just take a cold shower because it's warm enough. But this time around, like I said, it was just terrible weather, terrible temperature. There was no way that I could get the cold shower and then be able to warm up sufficiently in my kit to then have the... It was just... It didn't work out for me. It didn't work out with me. I would take a cold shower if I could warm up in time, but I just couldn't that time round. So unfortunately, that was a knot, that the new shower block didn't have hot water for when we needed it. Okay, let's talk about the game. let's talk about the game for E4. I also realised that I missed a load of game content for E3 that I had on my list and just completely glanced over it, like just missed it entirely. Wrote it down on my list because, like, as I'm looking at the camera here, I've got my PC screen here where I've pre-written everything that I want to mention, and I just completely glazed over the summer fair that Dawn held, which was fucking amazing. So shout out to that. Did I mention the star bag at E3 as well? I don't think I did. Maybe I did. I don't feel like I did. But I missed a load of stuff, so I apologise. However, E4, let's talk about E4 game HOTs. There are two main things I want to talk about because they were so good. They were both to do with being in Wintermark and being a mystic in Wintermark. They were exclusive opportunities for mystics in Wintermarks, bar a couple of exceptions, and it just really was a great end to the year and was a highlight of E4. So the first one is to do with mystic visions. So if you don't know much about Empire or you don't know much about Wintermark and mystics, let me give you like a quick overview. So basically, as a mystic, which my character Celine is, we get to tap into mysticism in a way of being able to read skeins, which is essentially like reading your fate, like diviners, seers, that kind of gameplay. One of the main things that used to happen was every Friday on each event, all the mystics got to go into the woods, and PD put together a vision. This was a vision from the Mystics of Ishal, which are basically like some cool mystics in Wintermark that are like a school, and yeah, they do stuff. They help us when we come to Anvil. So without going like into the nuts and bolts of everything, long story short, that stopped. And there was some discussion about how we could perhaps bring this back, but in a player-focused way, because previously PD had, made these visions, we'd walk into the woods, we'd see these visions, and they were all very kind of vague, intentionally so, but then I think there was some discussion in character as well as out of character about how we could improve that, not only, as mystics, how can we improve it, how can we feel more in tune and attached to that sort of stuff, but also out of character, how can we make that gameplay feel more our own and kind of get a bit more out of it. So in E4 this year, the mystic players actually ran this themselves, and that was with the help of the head mystic and the Ravenseer, the current Ravenseer, and together with the help of some other mystics, we all got together and created this cool ambiance, and they put together this play, and everybody kind of acted out like we were in a trance. We were all seeing this group vision, and then people took Goose Whisper if they wanted to see a vision, and then from that people got to see their own individual visions, which was just so good. It was so well put together. Like props to everybody who ran that. I know some of the people who ran that, and they did such a good job, and it was so much fun, and it felt like that gameplay was like from the player, which love PD obviously, but it just felt kind of special that it was something that was player ran. So then mechanically, if you're wondering how we all had a group vision, then we did the typical thing of there was a ref present, they had a bag of the visions. If you're new, there are a bag of visions each event, and you pick one out at random and you read it and you try and take in as much as possible, and you put the vision back in the bag, and that is the vision that you saw. So even though we had a group vision, it was more like everybody had their own vision. We were just all taking drugs at the same time. So yeah, it was a really nice start. I think that was the Friday night. It was a really nice start to the final event of the year. It really built our community. It brought all the mystics together, even some non-mystics who came and just sort of sat for the ambience. There was just so much. I think I played like a drum or a timpani or something, and there was music. There was. It just felt right. It just felt like Wintermark mysticism, and it felt really good, and that was why it was one of my hots. The second, in the same vein as Wintermark Mystics, the Wintermark Mystics got a very special opportunity to meet with an Eternal, and it happened in one of the event tents. Again, if you're new, an event tent is basically a tent where something very special happens, which PD put together prior to the event. So these are things that don't happen on a whim. This is something that is specifically planned for. So in this instance, there are some shenanigans going on with one of the Eternals, one of the Night Eternals, and a few of us in the mysticism world of Wintermark have been in contact, myself included. So I was very pleased to see that Celine had a letter from this Eternal who invited her to go to this this meeting, as well as a lot of the other mystics came with other roles involved as well. And it was the first time I've been in an event tent, so let's talk about the actual gameplay rather than the role play. Let's talk about the out of character sort of gameplay experience. Really cool. If you get an opportunity to take part in any of the event tent stuff that PD puts together, it was just so well done. The cast member who played the Eternal was just like chef's kiss, incredible, embodied the Eternal. I couldn't even speak. Like, I was really struggling to think of, should I say anything extra here? Because I was just so enraptured in the whole experience. It was just really cool. It was just a little tent, had some cool mood lighting, a great cast member portraying the Eternal, some great set dressing, and it just made this lovely little experience on the Saturday night. I think it was the Saturday night. In character, a little intimidating because my character is still trying to kind of find her feet a little bit in Empire and in the game, but really, really enjoyable. Really, really cool. Having the letter of the Eternal being like, fuck it, come along, and to be able to kind of roleplay coming into that being like well, I'm a VIP, bringing some gifts along, having some banter, listening to everything, and then doing some schemes afterwards. Celine's got big plans. No, she's got medium-ish plans. Let's just say she's got medium-ish plans. And it just created a lot of game. It was really good fun. Everybody did such a good job. The players that I was in the tent with did a great job as usual, and the whole event, just for Wintermark Mystics in general, felt really, really strong. You know, in character, it's something that Celine is super into and really enjoys and tries to take part whenever she can because it's part of who she is. But out of character as a player, we just have a group of really good people who are mystics and are very welcoming and create a lot of really good game, and I'm really appreciative to, you know, the players who continue to create that game and involve people. You know, like specific shout outs to the Ravenseer and the head mystic of Wintermark, because you guys really do create some great game, and it's been really, really fun to be involved in that in the past year and to kind of build my confidence as a player just in the LARP space. So yeah, really appreciate it. So I have one not for game. This not is more a me skill issue. I was trying to get my head around how to do astral projection. Basically, I was told a couple of conflicting things. Celine wanted to go and do a specific thing. I was recommended doing some astral projection. I was recommended to go get blessed, and then there was conflicting conversations between two members of PD staff at one point. I don't think that was on them. I don't think I was actually explaining what I wanted to do correctly, because I wasn't even sure what I was meant to be doing. I just kind of heard through the grapevine and from asking people, what should I be doing? Going into dreams, doing this, that and the other. So in the end, I went through a lot of effort and did a lot of really cool roleplay with people to try and get blessed, to make sure I could come back from this thing that Celine wanted to do. And then I went to the tent, and it was Sunday, and I was explaining it to this person at the ref tent, and they were like, no, that's not what you do. And I was like, oh, okay, I feel really bad because I've just wasted somebody. somebody's like blessed me to high heavens to make sure I come back from this thing, and it's not even the thing that I'm meant to do. So I'm really sorry to the cool priest and Wintermark, oh my gosh, I've forgotten your names, but you guys always dressed in yellow, and I think you have a boar insignia, and I can't remember the clan name or the house name, but the priest blessed me, and then someone else chucked in an extra level of bless for me, because we were having this cool roleplay moment, and I really enjoyed it. And I'm really sorry to say it was all for nothing. I was just super blessed by the time I left Anvil, but hey ho. I think I have now figured out how I'm meant to astral project, and we shall see in E1 whether anything comes from it. I kind of doubt it will, just because I'm still working my way through how things work. I think that's where I trip up quite a lot, is figuring out how mechanically I should be going about things, and the best way to do so. But you know what? Had a good time, good roleplay moments, and I'm learning, so you just roll with it. Okay, we have reached the part in the video where we're going to talk about 2024 in general. 2024 as an overview was sick, loved it, great. It was the first time I've spent all 4 events in a year. I did every single event. It was amazing. I've met so many cool people. I've made friends. I didn't expect to make friends. I'm like one of those people who I have my group of friends, I'm very happy, and I'm kind of not looking to make friends, but I've stumbled across like this fantastic community where there's so many lovely people, and I just genuinely enjoy going and talking and just relaxing with these amazing people and this amazing community. So yeah, it was great. If you're looking to start, just go for it in E1. Honestly, there's nothing to lose. So let's talk about the hottest kit. The kit, I've done 3 for each. Have I done 3 for each? Yeah, ish. More or less I've done 3 for each. Okay, the first hottest kit mention has to be the cape from Golden Mochi. Golden Mochi is an incredible costume maker, kit producer, steam person, whatever you want to call it. Basically, they make fantastic clothes, outfits, kit, and I managed to somehow bag myself one of their capes last year, and it's just, in fact, it's like my go-to. It's a no-brainer. It is just an intrinsical part of my character now. Unless it's very hot, I wear it all the time. It is really easy to wash. It is stylish. It is well made. It is soft. It is comfortable. I seriously, if you're looking for new pieces, like you want to invest in pieces, or if you want to commission anything, I will put their website linked below, and go check out their stuff, because it is brilliant. The second hot I'm going to mention are thermals, because I would not have survived the year without thermals. Especially if you're coming into E1. E1 is typically the worst for weather. It's very cold. It's, end of April. It's still going to be cold. It's likely going to be wet, muddy. Invest in 2 good pairs of thermals. Get 1 pair of thermals to wear during the day, and a second pair of thermals to wear at night. Or even if you really wanted to, have 2 different pairs of thermals to wear during the day, so you can swap them out, and then 1 pair of thermals to wear at night, with your pajamas on top, with your hoodie, with your water bottle, with your sleeping bag. This time of year is also really good for sales and stuff. I know I'm coming into this a bit late. It'll probably be like the end of January by the time this comes out. But if you can look at things like Decathlon sales, or Mountain Warehouse sales, things like that, and grab yourself a couple of pairs of really good thermals, it will do you the world of good. The last hottest kit is gonna have to be one of my holy grail items, and that is the Snazaroo face paint. I have probably mentioned this in most of my videos because it is that good. The Snazaroo face paint is the it girl of face paints for me. If you mix it, if you spray it with some fixing spray, some like makeup fixing spray, as you put it on, instead of using water to put on your face paint, And if you use primer before that, it's not going anywhere, babe. It's not going anywhere. They're really cheap, they're long lasting, they are easy to take off. I haven't tried every single colour. Even when I was head to toe in the red Snazaroo face paint when I was cosplaying the Ruby of the Sea from Critical Role, it came off no problem. Like I've been red, I have been shades of grey, I have been, I obviously paint sort of like the black face and gold face paint for Celine in various ways. So easy to come off. Also does not irritate my skin, because my skin can be sensitive and is very prone to breakouts, especially if I have too much on. I actually break out more from normal makeup than I do from the face paints. So if you're looking for something, even if it's just like a small tattoo that your character has, or just some cool face paint, the Snazaroo face paints are just a no-brainer. I only have one knot in my kit section. We all know what it is if you've listened to my videos. Oh yeah, say it with me now. The scam bag. I've already mentioned it once in this video, even like before I got to this bit. The scam bag, just, if you haven't seen my stuff before, basically the scam bag, unfortunately, was a bag that I thought I commissioned from an independent artist on Etsy. It turned out to be a dropship shop, which got shut down before my bag even arrived, and I got a full refund, and then the bag turned up. The stitching's all over the place, it's flimsy as hell, it will probably fall apart within the next year, and I need to invest in like a new thing. Somebody made like a really nice comment on, I think the video that I mentioned this, it might have been like E1 last year, when I was first talking about the scam bag, and they made this really nice comment about, oh well, you can add lore to it and, you know, go with a child made it for me and it has sentimental value and that's why it looks shit. It's because I got given it as a gift from a kid and they tried their best and it's just sentimental even though it's really ugly. And I really love that, but unfortunately there has to be a practical side where I don't think this bag's going to survive, but I love the fact that we can embrace that in LARP as well. So sorry scam bag, I fear that you form maybe your last endeavour into Anvil. In E1 you're going to be replaced. Hottest camping of 2024. Okay, I have sung their praises and I'll say it again. Rent Bell Tents, not sponsored. I was just really happy with them. Like, I started in the out of character camping and I had my normal tent, foreshadowing, and going into the in-character camping and renting a tent from this company was just night and day. It's so easy, it's so stress-free. The tent is already put up for you, you don't have to worry about packing it down, it comes with beds, you can rent extra bedding, you can rent different sizes. It just has everything that you need if you're someone like me and you're like a public transport normie and you just can't physically bring everything. It makes life so much easier. I just bring my suitcase and that's it. I don't have to worry about anything else. So if you're looking for an in-character tent and you don't or can't get a full sort of canvas in-character tent and bring it with you or purchase it, especially if you're sharing with others, go for a company like Rent Bell Tents and split the costs, rent it, do yourself a favour, and you'll thank yourself afterwards, because it is super easy and really handy. Second camping hot is going to go to the hand warmers, the digital rechargeable hand warmers. I know this is like an Amazon product, but they are really good, and especially in these colder months it makes such a difference. I usually go around and say that they are the magical hand warming pebbles from the mountains of Bezos. When I'm in character, I've handed them out to people because they come in pairs. I've handed them out to people before just for them to hold, and everybody who has held the magical pebble from the land of Bezos has enjoyed their time holding the pebble. The electrical hand warmer for me makes a huge difference just because it's so easy to recharge. If you're bringing your power banks with you, it has like a USB-C rechargeable port, so it makes life really easy. You just recharge it at night or first thing in the morning before you head out into in-character time, and you've got it. It's really portable. You slip it in your bag, you hold on to it. It's quite discreet, so when you're holding it, it doesn't look like a giant hand warmer. You're just kind of holding it like a pebble. Electric hand warmers, recommend. The final hot camping equipment that I'm going to say is my hottest is the Alaska Bear sleeping mask. I do struggle with sleep in general, but one thing that really doesn't help, especially when you get towards the summer months and the sun comes up quite early, you're camping, you kind of got no shield from any of the sunlight. You are just out in the middle of that field and the sun comes up when it comes up. And having a really good sleeping mask has really helped desensitize myself from being woken up easily. It's very, very good. It's satin, so it's really nice on the skin. It's got elasticated adjustable straps, which is very good for the big-headed people out there. Let's go. And the actual eye mask itself has divots, has like pockets in it, so instead of it being quite taut against your eyes and you feel pressure against your eyes, it actually gives space for your eyes while still blocking out a lot of the light. It completely blocks out the light for me. My eyes are really comfortable. You know, you don't wake up after 6-8 hours and feel like your eyes have had pressure against them and so you're all blurry and you can't see for the first 30 minutes when you wake up. So if you're looking for a really good sleeping mask, the Alaska Bear sleep mask will be linked below, and I highly recommend it. I just use it in my day-to-day anyway, like it's my go-to sleeping mask when I go to bed. We have two for the Notest camping of LARPing in 2024. The first being, it's going to sound really random, but it was a massive pain in my arse, and I know people really didn't get along with it, not just me. Having E1, they laid down fresh wood chips, but it also rained a lot, and the combination of fresh wood chips, rain and mud meant that E1 became a swamp. There was like a picture in the Facebook group where somebody had like a shoe or a welly kind of floating on top of the puddle, and somebody captioned it like, it's claimed another victim. It just really wasn't fun. The fresh wood chips are really hard to walk on anyway, especially for me. I have a condition in my knee where it easily dislocates, so walking on the fresh hard wood chip where it's so uneven is actually quite difficult for me to get around comfortably, and I'm one of those players who likes to walk around. I will go everywhere, all over the weekend. I will get my 10,000 steps in the first 4 hours each day. Like, I am that person that will just go wander, do things, get involved. So it made things really difficult for me. I can't imagine how difficult it might be for other people with other accessibility needs too, but as far as I'm concerned, I found it quite difficult, so I imagine I'm not the only one who found that difficult. Plus the rain and it being muddy made it extra difficult. So although it's not something that we can control entirely, unless there is a way we can get softer wood chips laid for E1 in 2025, it was still a knot. It was a big knot because my knee almost slipped out, and if my knee goes, that is basically me off my feet for about 6 weeks, which sucks. Yeah, it wasn't a fun time. And the second and last Notest of 2024 is, of course, the Eurohiker Sendero 6-man tent. Get it in the bin. My hate-hate relationship with this tent has transcended time and space. The first event I went to, it was the first tent I had. I wanted a 6-man because I thought all 5 of us would be using it. There was only 2 of us. I still really liked the tent. It was easy to put up. I put it up by myself. Didn't even need to use the guiding lines because, I mean, at that point the weather was incredible. It was boiling, there was no wind. I could just put the tent up and it stayed there, and it was great. Every single point from that point onwards was a trial getting it back up again, a trial keeping it clean. It just leaked every single time, and that got us to the point of going, look, let's rent a tent now because it's too much. It's just too much. Maybe it was a skill issue. Maybe it was. However, considering the first time I used it, I had no issue and I did it solo, compared to the second time and the third time where it leaked so bad that we had puddles in our tent and it fell down consistently despite us using the guidelines. I got fresh pegs to get in there. I readjusted the tent multiple times to try and get it, you know, flat and taut and everything else, and it just fell over. It just did not keep out the weather. I just can't in good faith recommend this tent, especially if you're coming into this fresh. If you're coming into this fresh, either get someone who has a tent that recommends that tent, or go smaller. Like, start small, don't fork out a lot of money. Again, this time of year is great to go to those sports shops and find discounted tents, hopefully good ones. Make sure you do your research. I researched this one and had raving reviews, which is why I got it, but ended up not being the case for me. So the Sendero literally got put in the bin when we moved. It is no longer with us. Rest in peace, Eurohiker Sendero 6-man tent. Lastly, let's talk about the game. Let's talk about the game in 2024, because in general, I had a fantastic time. I know I rave about this all the time. I know I come on here and tell you, you've got to join LARP, you've got to do Empire. There's a lot of great community. It's so much fun. Even if you don't know anyone who does it, do it yourself. I say these things because I genuinely mean it. So with that being said, the first hot on 2024 game-wise would be the Astronomancy game. I feel like I've come into Empire at a really good point where Astronomancy is really, really picking up. There are always mentions of it in some regard during the winds of fortune, like constellations doing something crazy, or you can see a certain constellation above a certain place doing things. There are sightings of tulpas, which are like the physical manifestations of the constellations, and one might appear in Anvil. All these things. It feels like a really great time to get involved with Astronomancy. I will say, if I were to give it any criticism, and I love it a lot, and I love that there's a lot of player-driven stuff in it as well. A big shout out to Serena's Star Song, who puts together the Astronomancy Symposium, and just overall does so much with Astronomancy that is just really fun, creates a lot of good gameplay. I feel like it's in this sort of limbo state where there are a lot of people now kind of really embracing and wanting to do more Astronomancy, but there are only so many niche opportunities that happen during an event, and it's one of those things where you blink and you'll miss it. So you could hear something down the grapevine and go, oh well, there's this thing happening with Astronomancy, and then you go to this place or you go speak to that person and then, oh, it's already done, or oh, we actually already found it, or we've done this. I get it, and also there's a little bit of frustration where I wish there would be a way to balance it more. It's sort of like a first come, first serve, and I totally understand why that's the way it is, because it's a game with over 4,000 players. There's no way you could possibly manage, unless you've got a specific Astronomancer manager who's managing the Astronomancy game full time and running different things. I can imagine it's an impossible task. But yeah, at the same time, I really wish that Celine is able to find other ways to get involved without kind of hearing things too late, or getting places too late, or people have already done things and you can't kind of get as involved with it because it's already been done, or someone's already got to it first. It's part of the game in a way, but I feel like it's a pattern that keeps happening, and it is a shame because in some ways I can imagine it putting people off, but I guess you just have to embrace it. Either way, there's a lot of really good Astronomancy game, and it's something that I enjoy threading through my roleplay. My skein readings are all Astronomancy based. We did blood rituals in Wintermark on the Saturday morning that I drew Astronomancy signs on before battle. It's a great thing to weave in to your gameplay if that's the kind of tone and the kind of, lack of a better term, the vibe that you want to use, then that's awesome. But yeah, I really hope it continues in 2025 and we kind of get more opportunities to get involved with that sort of stuff and just experience it more, because it's such a good side of the game that is really interesting. Similarly, in the umbrellaing of multiple things happening across 2024 is the Mystic game. I've already mentioned about E4 specifically, but the Mystic game in general, it in 2024 was such a roller coaster of emotions at some point. It felt like there was almost a coup gonna happen in Wintermark with the Mystics. Mystics were pissed off at each other. Mystics were cursing one another. People were flailing and panicking and laughing and all the while having visions. I just really appreciate the Mystics in Wintermark because they are so chill and there's some really good role players in there as well. Yeah, it just really confirms like my want of making Celine and going, yeah, that sounds good, and then coming into it and feeling like, yes, this is exactly what I wanted. The eternal meetings, the visions, the dramas happening between the Mystics, the Mystics of Ishal turning up, the in Wintermark one time in Anvil, like the list goes on. Every single event, it feels like there is so much content to get involved in with the Mystic game, and even down to the skein readings that Celine did throughout the year. I've had the pleasure of doing that for so many wonderful people, not just in Wintermark as well, but Celine's read skeins for people in the Brass Coast, in Dawn, and they've just all been wonderful experiences to roleplay mysticism. So for anybody who had a skein reading from Celine last year, thank you so much, because I had so much fun. I love doing it. It's one of my favourite parts of mysticism gameplay, and it's even more rewarding when I have those players come back and say, that's really weird, this happened, or wow, the thing that you pointed out is something that I feel like I know what I'm going to do, like my path is set now and I'm using it to roleplay, or it's just really fun and really rewarding, and I've met lovely people through doing it. So yeah, Mystic game, one of the best parts of 2024 for me. And finally, this is really hard because there are lots of really fun individual moments that I loved throughout 2024, but one I really wanted to give a shout out to was the Bear Pit in Wintermark. I know I'm biased as a Wintermarker, but it is so much fun. I mean, the E4 Bear Pit was fantastic. I don't know why I didn't put that earlier actually in the game E4 Hot, but it was just so much fun. If you're not familiar with the Bear Pit, it's essentially the fighting ring in Wintermark. Anyone can join. It's like a bracket. It's randomly paired off until you get the winner, so you just fight, winner takes, next step, sort of knockout, and then the winner gets some things that are kindly donated by people around Anvil, mainly Wintermark I believe, but in E4 a Navaran warrior won it, and I think it was actually their first time in Anvil too. Their kit was fantastic. They clearly knew what they were doing in terms of fighting, like clearly they had some sort of fencing experience or the like. And it was really fun to see so many new players that had joined that event just come in and play in the Bear Pit and just like have so many people shouting, and especially for the tiny knives. If you don't know what I mean by that, come to the Bear Pit in E1, which is hopefully happening, and if you're lucky, you'll experience tiny knives. Again, it's just a highlight of the community, especially in Wintermark. Wintermark has always felt really warm and inviting. A place where you can sit down and you grab a mead, or you grab anything to drink really, and you just chat to the next person and you just have fun, and as long as you're safe and you're comfortable and you're happy, and that is all that matters. So yeah, big shout out to the Bear Pit. It's such a good laugh, and I can't wait to see the next one in, hopefully, E1 this year. So the last category is the Notest. What are the Notests of 2024? And honestly, I know I have spoken about some knots in the gameplay side, but I didn't feel like any deserved to be in like the Notest category of 2024. You know, like we could recap and go, yeah, there was some uncomfortable combat scenarios that happened this year. Yeah, the Astronomancy game might be balanced a little better. These are super minor things, and I just don't feel like any of them are warranted being labelled like the Notest. The thing about Empire is that it is an evolving game. I know it's blown up massively, I think since the pandemic. I know it was big before the pandemic, but from what I've heard, since the pandemic, it has become very large and in charge. There's around 4,000 people that turn up each event, or, you know, at least 3,500. And when you talk about LARP to like the normal person who maybe has never heard of it before, or has only ever heard of it in passing as like a joke or a meme, you all kind of are aware of it in certain degrees. And so when you hear things like, oh, there are thousands of people that turn up to this one event, it makes you stop for a second and go, oh, so this is a thing. But it takes a lot of everything to make it work. PD clearly do an amazing job, and they're not always going to get it right all the time, and that's why it's important to give feedback, but make sure it is constructive feedback and it's not bashing. Like, I really hope that by doing these and sort of doing the not category, I hope it's clear that I'm not bashing people. I hope it's clear that this is me genuinely highlighting things that could potentially be improved, or maybe things that I just didn't enjoy, and to open up a discussion about how things could be improved. Or again, it could be a skill issue on my part, which is totally possible, in fact, more plausible. So yeah, I know that probably sounds really cheesy, and as I'm talking about this, I also hope it doesn't feel like I'm being paid off to like not put a knot in there, but it's genuinely how I feel. Yeah, it wouldn't feel right for me to highlight a specific, like the knottest of knots over 2024, because everything I felt like was addressable and was maybe just a personal preference on my part. So yeah, thank you for sticking around for a bumper issue of Empire Hots and Knots for E4 and all of 2024. To wrap this up, because I have been recording now for almost an hour, I don't know how long this video is going to be, hopefully not that long, but I just want to say a big thank you for all the support in 2024. This is just like a hobby of mine that I do when I remember to do and when I have the time and energy, and I do enjoy it when I do it. But I didn't expect to gain like over 1,000 subscribers. Just kind of going, okay. So thank you very much for sticking around, whether it's because you're here for my LARP content or because of my game dev content, of which I do plan on making a new game dev video soon. Use that as a loose term, depending on how I feel. But I do kind of want to do something special to recognize 1,000 people subscribing to me. So, you know, I have thought, well, do I want to do a Q&A? But I don't know if that is right for my channel, or whether people would actually want to ask questions of me or hear me answer anything. So if you have any ideas of what you'd like to see for like a 1,000 sub special, put it in the comments. I'd love to hear your ideas. Or if you just want to carry on as usual without any sort of special, then that works for me too. So yeah, thanks everyone. I really enjoy this community, and I really enjoy, you know, reading everyone's comments, and, you know, hearing everyone's stories and hearing about how, you know, they're coming to LARP for the first time, or they got back into LARP. And, you know, it is lovely when you have comments or people reach out to me in real life or over the internet and say, yeah, I watched your video, and actually I went and got back into LARP, or I got into LARP for the first time. It's really nice to hear that sort of thing when I'm just making dumb videos sat in my chair in my PC. So yeah, anyway, I'm getting mushy and getting all over it, but yeah, thank you very much, and I hope you have had a great start to 2025, and I will see you very soon, hopefully, for some sort of dev talk and tea episode, which may or may not be soon. I can't promise anything. I am still exhausted, so I don't even know how to end this video now. I've gone above and beyond the limit of how long I thought I was going to film this for.
Bye.